News 19 Chief Meteorologist Efren Afonte with your weather impact alert, and this whole blob that's behind me that's covering Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, even down to Louisiana, portions of Mississippi, and even now getting into western Tennessee. That's far away, but it's heading our way. And really, we're going to be dealing with it all throughout the Palmetto State. The wintry weather impact, we're still looking at the timing. That's going to be, as far as the impact itself, Friday afternoon, early afternoon, until early Saturday morning. Now, for the most part, as far as the Midlands are concerned, there's the likelihood that we're going to have rain and freezing rain. For the Midlands, for the most part, the sleet and snow, probably not. But regardless of what may come down, it is going to make for some hazardous road conditions through that time frame from Friday night until sunrise and well after sunrise on Saturday morning. Now, there are winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories for the central and southern plains all the way across the southeast. That includes pretty much all of that precipitation that's not even here yet. It's only crossing over the lower Mississippi Valley. Well, that is heading our way. That's why South Carolina, for the most part, have got the winter storm warnings and the winter weather advisories. Specifically here in the Midlands, the winter storm warning covers Saluda, Newberry, Fairfield, and Kershaw counties until Saturday morning, just before daybreak. And the winter weather advisory is for the rest of our Midland counties until Saturday morning at 4 a.m. Now, for a lot of you who are in the city of Orangeburg, all the way out to Tugtown and Holly Hill, why am I not in it? I'll explain in a moment. You guys are not going to get as much of an impact as really the rest of the Midlands, and certainly as you go to the upstate. We'll go right down to the meat and potatoes. The probability of snow is going to be, as far as accumulations, into the upstate, especially the closer you get towards the Appalachians and the North-South Carolina state line, right around the areas around Carowinds. Yeah, there's a chance for snow elsewhere, but the primary target is going to be for snow in the far northwestern upstate. Now, the chance of ice, and that's going to be either sleet that's coming down or rain, freezing rain of accumulation. Well, it's not as much in the upstate. That's only because they're expecting more in the way of snow, but it's going to be more prevalent in parts of the Midlands and going into the PD. It's the reason why what we're going to be looking at is all of the precipitations in Georgia to start off Friday morning. As we get into Friday midday, that's when I expect when all of that will start moving through. But if you notice, just about all of South Carolina is going to be dealing with some kind of precipitation going to Friday evening, Friday overnight, Saturday morning. The good news is that it moves out quickly, and by Saturday early morning, it's gone. But the impacts are still going to be there. Limited impacts south of I-20, and then along I-20, a little bit better of a chance of weather impact. That could be power outages or hazardous roadways, but the biggest impact really going to be towards the northwest, portions of the PD, the upstate, and yes, it does include even portions of the Midlands, particularly northwest. So that's what we're going to be targeting. What we're looking at simply is this: Friday morning, clouds. Then the precipitation comes in, even though it's showing that it's going to be before 10 o'clock, the air is still going to be pretty dry, even though we'll have a lot of cloud coverage. I believe that we'll start seeing the precipitation start falling down by lunchtime, give or take an hour, and that'll be first possibly snow, maybe freezing rain or rain, but then it starts transitioning all into mostly freezing rain. And Orangeburg County, this is the reason why you don't have an advisory now, because as we get into the early evening, it may be turning into mostly rain. Now, we'll get to how cold it's going to be. By the time we get to late Friday night, now it's starting to mix all over the place. Mostly, though, the freezing rain is going to be to the north and northwest. But the good news is that as we get into the early hours Saturday, it just starts tapering off. And then by Saturday morning at sunrise, some of us will actually see sunshine. But as far as the precipitation, it's gone and we're done. How much snow could we realistically see? Well, we could see maybe some areas in the western, north central, and northern Midlands, maybe see about an inch. Don't get your hopes up, folks, because the precipitation that's going to be rain turning to freezing rain or sleet is going to overpower that as we go into early Saturday morning, and maybe dealing with some accumulations of freezing rain or ice, maybe up to even a quarter inch. So it's especially important to understand that not only are we going to be dealing with hazardous roadways, but also the possibility of power outages, especially if those freezing rain gets on the power lines and start weighing them down. Then we're going to be dealing with also the hazardous roads and loss of power. It's going to be cold in Friday morning. We're going to start off in the 20s, and by the time the precipitation starts, we're only going to be in the mid-30s. So it's very prevalent that this stuff is going to start freezing after sunset. And then by Saturday morning, it's going to be cold again. So a lot of that stuff is going to still be sticking on the ground. The bottom line is this. We're going to be dealing with all this precipitation. We're just going to try to figure out how it is. But more importantly, a lot of people are wondering, okay, so I live somewhere in the Midlands. I need to know what's going on. Well, I don't have to do this by myself. I'm being joined with another partner of our LTX family. And, you know, something we talked about, our evening anchor. You know what, Erica? You're no stranger to South Carolina weather.
Oh, I'm no stranger, born and raised here, so I know all the questions that come into the newsroom. I appreciate your timeline because we are here to help you plan out how your Friday and your Saturday is going to be.
Okay, we're talking about Friday night.
Friday night.
Okay, everyone wants to go out Friday night, and it's Saturday, so I want to plan to go out.
Absolutely.
But could I?
Correct. So we took a couple of questions that you all are asking over on our WLTX Facebook page. And here is one question behind us here. How hazardous are the road conditions expected to be? And I mean, that's hard to plan out, correct?
Yeah, but if you think about this, okay, South Carolina, by and large, we don't get stuff like this. And, you know, the last time it happened was maybe 2022, but we had a big one back in 2019. But both those times, it lasted a day. And the next day, it's gone. So let me show you this graphic. And, you know, when it comes to the road conditions, everyone wants to know what these road conditions are. I mean, what is, a big word, black ice.
I don't want that.
No, it's like, what is, I've heard this before, and it's like, you know, come on, what is it? Let me show you this graphic of what black ice is, because a lot of people want to know, well, you know, what really is black ice? It's nothing but water. I mean, it's just whether it was melted snow or freezing rain or just a puddle of water. It's not really black. It just happens to be right on the surface where you got the asphalt. So black or gray, but all it is that the water freezes. And it freezes right over the roadway. It's a nice thin layer of ice. There's only one problem. It makes everything slippery. Now, I don't care if you have a truck and you put down the sandbags in the back of the bed. If you slide, you slide. And if you play hockey or you skate, you slide.
That's exactly right. And it really depends on where you live as to how the roads are treated or how much they're treated. I was behind one of the trucks today. It got all over my vehicle, but I'll take it. You know, they're trying to keep us safe.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what they're spraying or what's being sprayed on you. I mean, they're treating the road. But the catch is on the roads, before any of that stuff is put on, it's almost like looking through glass.
Oh, yeah.
You really can't see anything.
No.
And the hardest part is that you can't see it. I mean, it's just on a layer. Now, let's just build up with snow around it. So when the officials say, and South Carolina Department of Transportation said, if you really don't need to be on the roads,
then don't do it.
Then don't do it.
Stay at home.
Yeah, because even if the road is treated, if you're driving and all of a sudden you hit this patch of black ice, well, it's ice. You're going to start sliding. And I was joking around during the newscast earlier today. I would rather drive in snow because at least you get a little bit of a grip. You drive on ice, you're going to slide.
Right. And if you make the decision to go out there and drive, then potentially you could be putting first responders at risk as well.
Yeah,
having to come out there and help. All right, here's another question. I have to chuckle at this. Why are people freaking out over some rain?
You know, it's funny, but it's not funny. But the reality is, it's rain. What is the big deal? Yeah, so it's rain. We get rain all the time. But we don't get temperatures in 20s for 2, 3, 4 days straight.
Correct.
Even though we may get rain. So let me show you this graphic on, okay, so why is rain a big deal? Okay, first and foremost, did you know that any precipitation we get here in South Carolina, it first starts off as a snowflake, way up in the atmosphere. It's always going to be frozen. Okay. So if it comes to rain, all it is just a snowflake. The upper levels of the atmosphere is cold, and then it gets into some warm air as it heads towards the surface. Well, if the temperature is 35 degrees, it's not freezing, so it stays as rain. It's cold, annoying rain, but it's rain. What if the air was a little bit different? So it starts as a snowflake, it gets to the cold air, then it goes through all the warm air, but at the surface, like we've been dealing with 24 degrees in the morning, just that little bit, even though that's the temperature, it's still wet until it hits the ground, and then now you have a puddle that turns into ice.
Yes.
So that's what we call freezing rain. Okay, so people are like freaking out. It's like, well, it's rain. What's going to happen? Well, if the freezing rain is the case, but if it comes at like 7 o'clock in the morning and all of a sudden the sunshine comes out, it starts to melt it. no big deal. The two biggest ones that are always a problem is going to be sleet. Snowflake melts, but then hits a lot of pocket of cold air, so it freezes. So instead of a nice little pretty snowflake, it melts and turns into a little ice cube. Little itty bitty thing, pencil head size. And then it comes down to sleet. But the air is already cold, so instead of it hitting the ground and then melting and then refreezing, it just hits the ground. So you have these little white dots that are all over the place. Then of course you have regular snow. Start to snow, cold air stays as snow. That's what everybody's looking for. They, I want to see snow. No, you don't. You really don't. You don't want to have to go out there and try to drive through any of this stuff. But freaking out on rain, there is a valid reason. If it was raining in April, we'd be like, why are you freaking out about rain? But this rain, once it hits the ground, if it stays as rain, second hits the ground, it's going to turn into one big frozen puddle.
I mean, you're giving us a whole science lesson.
Yeah, so you know, but it's a very valid question a lot of people ask. So yeah, freaking out about rain, I understand.
All right, here's the next question. When will winter mix start for Lancaster, South Carolina, that particular area?
You know, a lot of people in the northern Midlands and then going into the PD, they're a little worried because, you know, a lot of the forecast that has been put out, we've been saying that there's a possibility that there could be a mixed precipitation. What's the timing of it? Well, we'll show you that, you know, on the graphic where we were showing the timeline of where everything comes through, we're looking at very likely up in the northern Midlands into Lancaster County. Well, we could be looking at that stuff conservatively as early as maybe midday. So Lancaster, just north of Kershaw County, so town of Kershaw, just to the north of the Kershaw Lancaster County line. Here's the precipitation. It's 1, 2 o'clock. Probably the time best is going to be more towards sunset. So 4, 5 o'clock is when we start expecting it in the areas around Lancaster. The thing is that here's the difference. Because it's further north, there's a better chance of the colder air to be staying up there. So is it going to be snow? Is it going to be sleet? It's very likely not going to be rain. It's probably going to be freezing rain or the sleet, and may even be mixed with a little bit of snow.
Ooh.
So Lancaster, you have a slightly better chance of some white stuff accumulating, but it's probably going to be more in the lines of sleet.
Oh, okay. I do want to get to this question from Joanne Claire, and here it is right behind us here. She wrote, I'm trying to get a better idea of the timing for Richland County, not concerned with just snow, but for ice, a guesstimate as to when the roads would likely be hazardous. That's what would help her.
That's a really big question because, you know, no matter where you're in Richland County, I live in Lower Richland. And I'm thinking, okay, when should I try to get here before everything starts at the station? It's valid. One thing that we do know, the graphic that we show of when we're expecting the possibility of impacts, you could see that the impact for Richland County is primarily going to be central and northern Richland. It's minor. But minor just may mean it may not be widespread. So there is the possibility. But when you're talking about Richland County, you don't care whether you're upper, lower Richland, or right in Columbia, the computer model is indicating we might start to see stuff coming through Richland County before lunchtime. I think the air is still going to be dry enough that it's not going to start coming down. Even though the computer model is showing it. The best time is very likely as we get towards, and I'll use this as a comparison, when the kids are starting to get out of school. Okay, but everybody right now is on e-learning, so that's going to be the time frame. And after that, so 2, 3 o'clock, we'll start seeing it in Richland County, and then it's just going to continue. It will first start, though, as possibly rain or freezing rain, but the impact on the roads probably won't be until sunset. So it may start at 3, it may not start making the roads slick until maybe 6 o'clock. And after that,
all right, so we do want to make sure that everyone downloads the free WDLTX app. That way they stay in the know, okay? Make sure you have that app ready to go. And then tonight at 11, you're going to have even more to talk about.
Yeah, but here's the catch. So, you know, the joke is that, you know, go out to the grocery store. What does everybody ask for the grocery store?
I asked for this graphic to be up here because I noticed at my grocery store over in Chapin, some of the shelves were looking a little more bare than normal.
Yeah, and we were talking about this. It was like, why is this bread and milk whole thing? Okay, Meteorologist Daniel Bonds was talking about that in the morning. It's like, okay, so for those of you who are originally from the Northeast like me, you'll remember the blizzard of 77, the blizzard of 78. Well, the 77 one was in New England, the 78 one was that was in the
Great Lakes.
In the Great Lakes.
Yes.
But people in the Great Lakes in New England are used to it. 4 or 5 feet of snow, yep, no big deal. But there was a panic that we may not have enough food, so lots was being stuck. So bread and milk was the cheapest and easiest thing.
I like French toast, so I'm never going to complain about this.
Hey, I've
combination.
had milk sandwiches before, and I won't complain because at least it put something in my stomach.
Hey, we got to make it work. Thank you so much for really breaking it all down for us, and thank you for joining us. We're going to